C on Supreme Isthmus. How do you win it? How do you win it quickly? What's the best way to do it? I'm going to show you what I struggled with recently because I haven't been confident enough to make a video about it because I would so often lose spectacularly and fast in C, or maybe be able to hold out for 25 minutes. And that's it. It just felt like a losing battle. So I've delved into a lot of replays. I've played the game a few times and I actually came up with something pretty quickly. But I want to dig into a problem game we've got first. And we're trying our heart out and we're theory crafting, but it's just not working out for us. The second video is we respond along the lines of, okay, this is what we need to change in our build. Let's see how that goes. And the third is a very, very good counter from the closed C position. In what I show you here, possibly one of the most efficient builds I've ever seen. So you're going to get a peek in what might be good for you. So let's jump in, see my first fumbling attempt of trying to win the open C position and just how hard it is. History repeating, we are here on the sea. 3 mexes down, barely a wind turbine straight into the shipyard. Much earlier than what can be put over here, especially when the enemy goes bots. So we see an early on shipyard. We're contesting it. So we're just fighting with what we have, basically. We've got one wounded frigate out here. We've got an orca coming in to assist. Going to take on an eel any day of the week. But in the end, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to take this on because there's jellyfish here or torpedo launcher. I might have been wrong. Might have been able to snipe something further. But decide to retreat. Doing much the same thing. The long walk of shame with the commander through the sea. But yeah, too many. And I have to retreat likewise in shame, back for the longer walk in shame. To top things off, we have got a breakthrough of blitzes here, quite a number of them. Ugh. Yeah, the sea is lost then, I've said. This is more of a traditional what would usually happen. But even early on, I think the mass destroyers might have been able to stop this. Ooh, that's a big hit. See, it didn't even quite hit it, and it managed to take down a little bit of health there. Quite a decent chunk of health, actually. Frigates doing what they do best, which is dodge tank. But they do get hit every now and again with those big destroyer hits. It takes a toll on them. Splitting up the forces here to get the surround. This destroyer hung up on the island. Run agrounds. One more lobbed. Oh, save. Neck and neck. We're fighting with everything we have. Again, they try and break out. Whoever wins this war of aggression will win the sea. Our submarine helping us out a lot against this frigate-heavy army. No reply to the submarine, of course. But just this consistent reinforcement. So close to their base, it's really hard. We're at least trying to pick up some metal from this as quick as we can, because time is of the essence. We're actually picking on this front base a little bit. Blowing out their construction turret out of the sky. The destroyers, excellent bombarders, taking down their pathetic defense. But I think they've got enough weight of numbers to push out now with the frigates. And a destroyer backing it all up. We're going to have to try and retreat a little bit. Save our numbers as much as we can. Unfortunately, it looks like our constructor, so important to keep this up, our constructor ship. Pivotal to our strategy. As for whatever reason, I don't really build resurrection ships. Moving away again, unfortunately the constructor ship is exposed. Just throwing away the whole force here. A better Navy player than me would punish this with having the resurrection subs ready to go. Shuriken, unfortunately, managing to EMP a couple of my navy. But it's not enough. They're just throwing whatever they can helter-skelter at me. Relying on winning the battle and not able to do it. The issue we've got is just not building the resurrection subs. Feeling like I could never have time to build them. Which is of a mistake, of course. We've got a enemy sub here, unfortunately, in our base. Acting as a distraction. Both of us playing remarkably badly the fact we have banks full of metal. We've converted actually over to the advanced shipyard at this time while we're metal rich. Finally. Going to get it at about the 15-minute mark, not too late. We took down that submarine. Again, the jailbreak is attempted. This whole heap of metal sitting here. How much is it? 3,000. Not too much. We've managed to scoop up a fair number of it. Just with one construction craft. Down to 2. It's a relatively even fight. I didn't realise it's so even. I thought I'd get rolled at some stage. It must have been another battle. Here we go though. It's looking like they've got the advantage finally and they progress forward. What stopped us, of course, is us going up to T2. That's what's caused this. And us going into this battleship here. It's going to be a running fight now. Unfortunately, also hit by this gauntlet. And many of our ships looking the worse for wear. Bit of a running disaster. Them taking down those 2 destroyers. Going full throttle into our torpedoes. A bit of a error in the end, but I think this is going to be a game won by resurrection subs, as we've lost access to all this metal now. Now I can actually see the battle. I haven't necessarily lost access to it, but I haven't won. And they're managing to sit on it with reinforcement right here. They've stayed longer on T1, and that's enabled them to win that battle. In full perspective, a few more resurrection ships, staying on T1 a bit longer, and trying to flush out this here is just so important. The aggression being key. Second mistake, overbuilding into resurrection subs at the wrong time. And not realising repeaters on. No. Oh, the mistakes, how they add up. And we also see over here another base. This is where the T2 is, a sneaky T2. Now we can start to see the whole picture fall apart. We are somewhat guarding this metal field, so I'm not totally abandoning it. But even Red can see just how outnumbered we are at the moment. For whatever reason, we've stagnated on the metal. Because we keep on building into these resurrection subs. And not our battleship. An unmitigated disaster of build orders. Their battleship comes around, starts annihilating us. Total surprise. And we're on the run. Our construction ships on the run. Finally, do we really realise our error with the resurrection ships? We do not. Air does somewhat help. But I think it's all lost. Our 2 battleships aren't going to be enough. We're trying to use our resurrection subs offensively. Doesn't work. Again, we try and do it. Com bomb. It's all over. We have managed to hold off Red for a little while. Our biggest learning then was just not being aggressive enough with pretty much destroyers early enough. It's the same similar finding. Making sure this is taken out. I had to progress and get in a few early resurrection subs. Absolutely pivotal to carrying that attack forward. You do need to tech up towards T2, and we saw that sneakily done over here. I should have had a herring or such to keep an eye on this area. So that was another mistake, and not get surprised by it. So you definitely do need to manage that move upwards, and the resurrection ships would have helped with that. But I think generally speaking, we could have pressed on them enough to take this out. Now I watch the replay of it. So it's worth trying to keep up the pressure in T1 until at least that objective is handled, and then finally managing the T2. So I've just demonstrated to you guys a game that didn't go so well. Didn't go how we would have hoped, especially early on. So we've theorized exactly what might actually work in this situation. The very next game we play, we're in the open position again against another Red. Like, what the hell? This is my nemesis, the Red, on this position here. And we can see going for this very modern meta build. Only 3 wind because the wind is high into a bot lamp here. Going all the wind before the 3rd max. I'm not sure if that's the best play. There we go, that max comes down. I don't know about that. I'd get the max a bit early. Over our side, we actually devote ourselves towards a very early energy storage because the wind is so mad. And I'm hoping to secretly catch in on my team's excess of wind. So that's what the energy storage plays for us, for a very early burst of wind. And look at this wind. Look at this energy here just blow up. So well worth it. If we want to look at the energy storage here, 175 metal. Now, for a T1 energy converter, it's about 80 energy. per 1 metal. So if we want to use that conversion metric, we've already gotten back 100 metal easily. So from this early game, saving a little bit of energy and not having to overbuild on the energy ourselves now. Although we will have to put down a few tidal generators soon enough, I'm sure. Now we get both a res bot and a con bot. So we're off to a good start here when you get the res and the con. I'm not going across and playing games over here in the island. It's a distraction from the main navy for me. Now, once my navy game is super evolved, sure, I'll contest that island a bit more. So the first thing I do is build a construction ship to get these 3 mexes, because we're already out of metal, right? I did pay for my Resbot and T1 Scout, however. And over here, I'm trying to cash in on some extra energy, although we've already blown through all that extra energy. The first thing I build, after 2 herrings, I send them out. We can see a very greedy build here, a construction turret build. This is very meta though. What's unusual is the commander here is building all these wind turbines, utilising that 300 build power without moving, using every little bit of construction power to try and get as much economy up as possible. Power building with 2 constructors here, just a little bit after 4 minutes, this geothermal is going to be up. But it's a 4-minute mark and I'm here already with a herring. So this later construction ploy of trying to build here, just 1 herring has thrown a wrench in that. So it's very important to try and build here quite a bit earlier. So instead, to make up for that, we see a construction turret built a little bit further back. Although now the constructor bot is on fire because these trees have caught fire. Our other herring is up here patrolling. And now our early game rush destroyer is heading down at about the 5-minute mark. We'll get there just a touch after, followed by a second destroyer and 1 more herring. So we've got a total of 3 herrings, but there's only going to be 2 in this bay area. Now, also what we do is we've got an aggressive constructor ship here, building a radar and a mech. Now, I just wanted to stop you there because this is a much more powerful eco play from Red, utilising all this position's power in getting up eco as fast as possible. But in saying that, the metal produced, there's no actual difference. We're neck and neck tied, exactly the same. So the speed of which we're able to get everything sorted outweighs the overall eco potential of this spot, at least in the super early game. So you've actually got a weight of numbers if we go straight into building units. Well, these guys have just built a lot of wind and geothermal and all that, and they can't spend that on units, even though they've got a lot of money banked. As they get this down, look at all this in construction turrets, just to make sure this whole thing stays alive. And true enough, it is going to stay alive against the very early game. Even though I've got some surround damage bonuses, it's not going to be enough. But look, they're already out of metal, and that's 1 supporter and 1 orca, and they're out. And all I've got to do is take this down. They do take down a herring, I believe. We see another supporter come out. So right away, got the fast boats here to try and overcome our destroyer. We're targeting down the commander with S. We just about take down the commander, but the 5 con turrets are a little bit too much for us. We're now withdrawing through the islands. It's a tail chase with us giving a trajectory advantage as they can't move completely around us and essentially dodge the fire. It's too close. We managed to get away with 91 hit points, so that's fortunate. And we've got this constructor ship here to repair our destroyer right away. The supporters try and capitalize on this early game low metal on the board and try and be really aggressive, right? But we've got a second destroyer up now, and it's just enough. Barely, as we repair this one. Keep it alive on about 100 hit points. I'm a little bit lucky here, I must admit. And we're being able to basically present a little bit after 7 minutes. We've got 3 destroyers here. And what do we got on the bottom team? Nothing. They've spent it all on infrastructure. Also, because the Red has likewise neglected the island, now Air has been able to nab this small island. Now we've got a couple of smaller ships in, Riptides, to pretend to sort of defend against these supporter swarms. So we get an advanced construction bot at the 8-minute mark, a little bit late compared to Red, no doubt. Oh no, Red is actually late as well. In a massive panic though is Red. So we have the weight of numbers by far here. We've got about, well, a 4-to-1 advantage. Now a 2-to-1 advantage with this destroyer out. But still, it is a reasonable advantage we've got here, and we're going to press this. The only advantage these guys have is being able to put their metal on the field right away and also repair from this little nook here. So we're being more and more aggressive to try and draw them out, and it's actually worked. And our weight of advantage is just too high, and we managed to smash their navy more or less. Now forced to put out supporters at only 100 metal each, are the only way they can get decent amount of numbers on the field. Help, this whole side is gone. Yeah, it's not looking good. So we now see the shurikens come in at the last gasp. We've got plenty of herrings here, and that's just defeated. So 4 herrings were enough just to totally rip them apart. You know, that's bugger all in the way of metal. So guys, build more herrings, at least 4 in your fleet, especially the early fleets, to be able to stop that. Now, we can't quite break through the super healing of fine con turrets, which is super annoying as we start to get a bit of artillery against us. And so we do this surround here. We come in and around to try and get some additional... Yep, and we managed to take it down. Blow up a few con turrets, and that's game. Now, I will show a build of how you maybe get in front of what I'm doing here. But for most players, if you're very aggressive with open sea, just do exactly what I've done. Build destroyers, build herrings. Don't overthink it. Save all your money for that and be as aggressive as possible. It will work in your favor. You have the metal advantage because they're spending on greed while you're spending on units, and it's going to work most times. So as I've got my patrolling herring here, we can see a number of these radar signatures appear on my screen, and that gives us a little bit of warning, all the warning we need to be able to take quick action. And we've got these herrings here surrounding and being able to pelter this force right away, which is a force of goons and crocodiles. Actually a reasonable force here. So it looks like the goons are going to get away from us, whereas the crocodiles, we might be able to actually catch up and do away with them. Unfortunately, our herrings are starting to get a little bit too close. The caimans, sorry. We're closing in on the caimans, and they should be able to get taken down by the Navy rather easily. Fortunately, we managed to transition over to the T2. They're trying to catch us while we transition. We've managed to do it just early enough and go right into cruisers for this exact apocalypse scenario. The cruisers are able to take down the goons very fast, and at the last second we do see one gunship able to take down the one goon, I imagine. There we go. So at this pivotal time, we've been able to support the front and help the push that comes through here. Totally knocking out Orange, Ulti and Nyx. At the worst possible time, the supporting ducks are coming in. Would rather probably not try and help out this particular front, making the age-old mistake of coming alongside the shoreline. And we see about 1500's worth of metal go down for the ducks, right at the worst possible time. Game all over. So let's examine this now for when closed sea does the right thing and doesn't go too crazy with the eco at the start and be a little tardy with the timing. So in this video here with Bee Lover is building 5 wind on reasonable wind, going straight into an energy storage right off the bat, which is crazy. Right into a bot lab with this order here. 3 construction bots, 2 grave robbers, 2 grunts in some sort of order. I imagine the grave robbers perhaps up first to get that early good energy. So this is a super fast build that could possibly repel our aggressive advances. So if you are playing this position, do this. I think it's about the best you can do. The only difference I might say is get this guy here, a Trasher, to come down and sit on this island here. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, because of course, yeah, you haven't got metal for everything, right? You've only got metal for so many things. Bee Lover is saying 2 light, 1 scout. So it's 2 light transports and 1 scout, and we're not really seeing any payments, so maybe they're friends. So we've got 2 Hercules and 1 scout. Maybe it's Blue's privilege, not paying for that. We see this construction turret brought over at about the 2-minute 30 mark. So it was quite a fast scout, and now we see it go down and pick up this grunt and proceed forth, while this transport over here helps get to the early geo. And we see this go down exactly on the 3-minute mark, this shipyard. Now, I can't even get a herring up here by now. So this is a troublesome timing. We can't even harass it early on to try and delay things. And that's the original part of the plan. And we see that here also. Some herrings are coming out maybe a little bit more delayed from what we would have done. not even coming in towards this cove, which is fairly standard. And right away goes into a construction ship for whatever reason. I imagine to get these early mexes. So we're not even at the 3-minute 30 range, so it should be safe. Down here we see the transporter coming in for some early harassment also, but unfortunately Mr. Cool Potato has a heavy transport bringing in a commander. A very good play from Mr. Cool Potato doing that. Totally upending. Now, I'm not sure if the heavy transporter would have been taken down by the one AA bot though, and this grunt can start firing right away, but it's been spotted early by this herring. Potato showing their expertise at the sea game. Before the 4-minute stage, there's a Riptide here, followed by a Destroyer. And we've got 2 Riptides, 1 Oppressor, 1 Herring. I've been privy to some forum chats on what the best ratio is, and that's a contender for sure, is to go the Frigate Heavy Navy with a 2-to-1 advantage to the Destroyers, at least in the early game. Unfortunately, that grunt didn't do anything, but most of the time, that grunt would be amazingly effective. The only issue with this build has been the late commander coming down to the island. Not that there's really a time from this position. Despite how close you are, you're never going to beat a heavy transporter play. And that's why it's worth doing for the open sea player. Over this side, so we see this frigate coming up at the 5-minute stage. Pretty typical timing. And getting meted out by these 2 frigates. So a really good play there, understanding that that's coming. And gunning towards this metal spot here. So traditionally, the player here would be able to pony up here and at least take that mech and sort of box in this. But blue has taken over this forward operating base with such an early Navy play. And still managing to get up the geothermal fairly quickly, even though they're a little bit high behind with the energy converters. All thanks, I think, to the transporter play. Moving those 3 constructors around a little bit quicker. The commander here a little bit late to the party, and this is what they're greeted with. Very early lasers. Now, really, they should be in more of a position here that all 3 can target them at once. So the blue player will be able to take down one by one in serial fashion and barely survive. But Mr. Cool Potato comes down and is able to get Blubber right away and survive the explosion with a full health bar. So winner takes all, Mr. Cool Potato. Well, wins the island anyway, if not the sea battle. A reaction here to this early heavy frigate play is the Orca, but the Destroyer's already out. Encountered, so before the 7-minute mark, blue's here with a Destroyer. Stopping the surprise submarine play. So blue started out really early. Let's look at the scoreboard as far as metal produced goes. Now, Mr. Cool Potato has just sucked up that commander, so we're looking at a pretty big difference there. But if we didn't worry about that, Blubber would actually be ahead by a few hundred metal at this stage. So it didn't really hold up the eco at all. And being able to capture these mechs is huge in getting that early game advantage in weight of numbers. So the 1 Destroyer and 4 frigates, a frigate heavy force for sure. The Destroyer is being protected by the frigates here. Unable to really snipe is the submarine at the moment. We see good spread here. Surround blue's force. I don't know, must have just been away from the battle a little bit, or been ultra aggressive. Going straight for the Destroyer here, getting that perfect surround. Oh, that was brutal actually. Very uncanny surround there. Worked really well. So a localized surround is what the frigates are really good at for getting that extra damage in. That's why people go frigate heavy, is to oppose the Destroyers and take them down. Whereas the frigates over here, they made the mistake of going too far away and losing their surround advantage. Very early win here from Blubber. Surprising how small the force was and just able to outmaneuver the enemy there. Look at this. How quick is this? The 9-minute stage. There's a resurrection sub here, reclaiming for the transition to T2. With a construction ship as well, building this metal extractor, like, the timing is immaculate. Like, there is no waste here. Unfortunately, the construction ship just went straight past this here, so that was a little bit inefficient. But one of the most efficient plays I've ever seen on sea, apart from what happened in over island here. 9 times out of 10, that commander would be fine and own this island as well. To me, Blubber has played and analysed this Navy game a lot, and that's why they're doing really well. 10-minute stage, you would be getting a bit furious over not being delivered a T2. But from tech's perspective, we've seen no payment from Blue. So despite having all this metal, just trying to game the system here and get a free T2. So the T2 lab being put down with 12 construction turrets slightly after the 11-minute stage, retaining the T1 shipyard, no doubt, for access to construction bots, sea construction bots and death cavalry, starting up with these tidal generator farms. I only got a navy around the 4,000 metal stage, but what do you need? You own the sea. I reckon the reason the T2's coming down so early is because there was no free T2 from tech here. And look, Blubber had the metal, so it was a bit cheeky Blubber didn't pay. Put down the head fake T2, brings the T2 down to Blubber, and then sends it over to Evil Bunny. That is snide. Mr. Cool Potato takes on the whole navy by himself. Healing up. It's not going to work. So the first unit goes into this super duper built T2 construction sub, followed by, I imagine, 4 of these Pathfinders, and we see it here. 4 or 5 naval Pathfinders, and then 2 Oasis. Very interesting. I guess 1 AN for the fleet base and 1 for the fleet. The nice thing about the Oasis is the fact that because it produces a little bit extra energy, it makes up for its metal deficiency in the anti-nuke missile. You don't completely bleed metal like you do with a static anti-nuke defense you might build. So we do see an early nuke player over here taking out the pond on the northern team very early at the 16-minute stage. Got to get that AN so early up nowadays. In a lot of iOS games I've seen that. Of course, that's been tech's early contribution. So the funny thing about this Oasis here, it does actually protect the pond on the northern side. This Black Hydra is starting to be constructed at the 17-minute stage or a little bit afterwards. That's why we see so many construction turrets. Just as we're starting to complete the T2 mexes, we can tell this is not Blubber's first rodeo. These hailstorms come in from the air, coming in around the bottom, as we'd expect. The screen proceeding. You're going to take on the fighters, but they are outnumbered. It might not be able to work. We do see some bombing taking place. Going for what? I'm not entirely sure here. I'm managing to go for reactor. Takes down, actually, Navy's base. Oh, it was funny. I wouldn't have expected them to get through. There you go. Air attack got through. So Cool Potato says, I hate this game. Mate, you're not the only one thinking that at the moment. Finally, some fighters managed to take down this dangerous bombing fleet. Just want to quickly note something here, what the red player on the southern team's doing to Zil in filling up this pond, and we see actually 3 construction turrets here doing it. This is a super economical play. These tidal generators produce roughly the same efficiency as the Cortex windmills anyway. I'm not sure about Armada, probably a little bit better. But for Cortex, this is great. And it's consistent power, which is better than the varied power of wind. So if you want to scale, that's a way to go. Going to be much more efficient than building reactors in actuality for a long time. This is going to be more efficient. Look at this Black Hydra getting super built. We even see 4 T1 constructors assisting the 12 construction turrets here. And for early anti-air support, we see these bird shots getting put down by the advanced construction submarine. Snipers here, patrolling the shoreline, thinking, oh yeah, we've got some time. Let's keep these T1 menaces away. And what's this? Straight into construction turrets. I'm really impressed. There's not a moment wasted with this construction that's going on. Air already starting to get affected by the infrastructure put down here. And look at it, the Black Hydra is out at the 21-minute mark. A nuke goes off on the front line from the northern team, by the looks of it. Oh, who knows who it's from. But it doesn't matter, because the Black Hydra's here. Snipes the commander. A random attack with Platypus. Now, I would like to see this T2 reclaimed, because down here we see, of course, the distributed construction turrets. Only about 13 of them, all you need at this stage of the game. Build an experimental gantry, very metal heavy. Taking down the geo base on the enemy team at the 24-minute mark. And now hitting this Navy player. In actuality, we do see it reclaimed. There we are. And you got to laugh because we built this almost 10,000 metal experimental gantry. And what are we building out of it? Salamanders. I don't get it. Why would you build shimmers? Blue must have seen an opportunity there. The nice thing about watching this is we know this player has done this 100 times. I might be wrong, I never know. But this to me just seems all a little bit too refined. And the one thing the Salamanders are good against is this early spam. And still impactful enough. As long as there's a group of them, like if you just filtered these guys in slowly, they're not as impactful. And able to take down a shield much easier than the one flagship can. They're not even going to go for it in the end. They go straight for air by the looks of it. Trying to get ahead of these defenses getting put in place here. But they're going to get taken down, I think by the looks of it, by a single commander. Followed up by Marauders. So maybe that's their duty, was just to flush the commander out for the Marauders. Unfortunately now the Marauders having to put up with the response team that was already in place. So possibly not as effectual as you otherwise would have thought. The commander here, two of them, been able to gun it right into and take down the Marauders. Easily. They last just a little bit longer than comfortable, but these bases here well and truly annihilated now. The Marauders are going to finish these off. Tarsinus. Not happy days. 28-minute mark, guys. This is devastated. I don't think you're going to see better timing than that. So the lessons we can use from Blubber here is this is a very solid strat. Now, it will repel what we're trying to do with our early aggression. But in saying that, that early aggression is not a typical play. That's why it's so effective. Usually people are a little bit more conservative than to just pressure this area here, especially a good timing attack around the 7-minute stage, which is what's so great about our adjusted build. And this is the counter build to it, right? And it's perfect. But in saying that, at least what we would be able to do, even against a frigate-heavy navy, is we should be able to contest it. I mean, we're going to have 3 destroyers, herrings, and we're going to have a couple of frigates ourselves against their 1 destroyer and 3 frigates. So we're going to be absolutely fine if we actually micro our navy as we should. Yeah, and it should at least reach a stalemate. This was a fantastic play by the Southern Sea Navy here in bringing across that heavy Osprey and dropping off the commander. That's convinced me that that play from the Southern team somewhat equalises things. If the South cannot conquer this island, then this area over here, it just doesn't have enough mexes. If these mexes are controlled by the blue team and they've got a geo, they're in this fully defensive position that they're able to hold relatively cheaply, then they can just eco up while all they have to do is defend this. You've got to defend this whole sea. Basically, you've got to defend this against any surprises. So you've got to build radars, you've got to have enough ships on the board. I mean, they could just pump through hovercraft, right? If you don't build enough. If you decide, oh no, I've won the sea and I will basically not build anything, then good luck once you get hit by hovercraft. So you've got to hold all this. All this blue player has to hold is this little area here. Very easy for them to do typically, particularly with this build. And what that allows them to do, get an early T2. They get all the metal here. Because if they manage to walk their commander over here, right, which doesn't take them as long as it's going to take you to walk your commander over here, so they have got that advantage. But if they walk their commander over and capture this, they've got 10 mexes available to them and a geo spot, which is easily 11, if not 12. That's without capturing this bad boy, right? On this side, let's just discount this one. Let's say this is disputed ground, right? Over here, we've only got 7 mexes, and we're having to control the whole sea, right? Which is more costly. So to me, there's 2 things you need to do. We need to take this 2 mex advantage away and use a heavy Osprey. Get a heavy Osprey if possible. We need to try and contest and put as much early pressure on as possible. Now, against a good player, you're probably not going to win. But in saying that, you're going to force this player here to overbuild, and then you're going to be able to at least form a stalemate and bring things into the T2 and be the better Navy player to be able to win the Navy game. Hopefully you enjoyed the analysis of my particular play and response that I've come up with, and some counters to it and some analysis. If you did, leave me a comment, like and subscribe, and see you next video.